Simon Davis with It's a Fencer's Life, Lessons from the Trenches.
G'day guys, Simon here from a Fencer's Life, Lessons from the Trenches, and today we have a special industry expert guest on, Vince Carriage, and he's going to talk to us today about some of the things that happening in his world as a trainer and registered training authority or officer, RTO. Yeah, Vince, welcome to the show, mate. Thanks for spending the time coming on.
Thanks for the invite, Simon. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. Just tell us exactly what you do, if you could, please.
Yeah, I'm a trainer assessor, and so I'm industry current, as in have my own businesses. I train across pastoral agriculture, but I also have built and run tourism resorts as well. So I'm very much into eco and agri-tourism, I suppose. We're just in the process of building another eco resort in the same place where we're building a small agricultural and job readiness training centre. So you're probably not aware of it, but up in Queensland, our great government that we've got has closed all the ag colleges down. We're doing everything we can to get more staff back into the regional areas. And so that's one of the big things I like doing. I'm a trainer and assessor, so that's a Cert 4 qualification. And then I train under like half a dozen diplomas, and then I train under those diplomas out in industry. And I try and stay as current as I can. So I've got a lot of people I work with to keep my currency up. And that's a big part of it, is that I think that's where the industry has fallen back, is that some trainers haven't kept current. And the other thing that we try and do is that we're not interested in just simply ticking people off. We do not tick and flick. It's all about clients for us. We do a lot of work health and safety clients. My wife's an ex-law professor, so we write all the policies and procedures for small business as well. So our company, Vet Centre QLV, we're quite broad. We run across a wide range. One of the big things I suppose we're trying to do is we really want to make an impact with work health and safety in our regions, with our SMEs, our small to medium enterprises. We really want to try and help them, and we try and use the carrot instead of the stick, because the sad part about it is that there's accidents happening all the time in our industries, and there's just been a couple just in regards to tractors. In the last 3 weeks, we've just had 2 tractor accidents, one with a post driver and another one as in a death. That was in Childers, Bundaberg area, and another one in Kinkin in the last couple of days with a tractor as well. Those accidents, some of them can be, I suppose, mitigated, and that's what we try and do.
Yeah, so it's necessary that before we sort of dive into that side of it, that's probably why I've asked you to come on today's show, is because we do a lot of have a lot of rural fences out there, a lot of other fences working around machinery all the time, and tractors and skid steers and posies and things like that. And I suppose that especially, I know here in New South Wales, they got rid of the old the graded ticket side of things to get your licence to drive these and be an operator, and then now it's just a verification of competency. And what we've seen a lot in the past has been a tick and flick. You know how to operate, you're all good, but it's not necessarily the correct way to go. And I want you to sort of share about, just let's dive into a little bit more about the tractor incident with the post driver. Can you sort of let us know sort of a little bit about that without sort of getting into too much detail, I suppose?
Yeah, look, I've done a bit of work with WorkSafe now in Queensland, and there's one that was a skidder a couple of years back out Pittsworth way, where the bloke lost his leg, and I was brought in to help the actual owners. And what I did was I went in there, spent a couple of weeks with them, and looked at their training, looked at their policies, procedures, brought them up to scratch, gap training, assessed them, gap trained, certified. So the big thing that I suppose, and we brought that, the highest fine you can get in Queensland is 1.5 million. Now, with the work that we did with this owner, this business owner, we were able to get that fine down 2.5 years later when they went to court to 150,000 and a 5-year probation. So what we try and do is, one, we try and help our clients understand their obligations under the Work Health and Safety Act. And as a PCBU, they have to understand that the ball is in their court, and it's up to them. Now, as a supervisor or a manager, you're liable. And as an owner, you're liable for your staff. And one of the first things, the only way to be able to prove competence to be compliant under the Act is by certification. Now, certification is, it's Australia-wide. So say, for instance, a tractor. I'm actually doing 2-up training at UQ at the moment, training their trainers and also their students that are coming through. Now, we're training AHC MOM 202, that's operate tractors. There's also an RWI unit that I prefer to do for councils. That's under the RWI cohort. Those ones, you've got to be your theory, you've got to do your assessment. So some people may not need training. They may need just gap training. So then you get certified and then you hold that unit. Now, if that unit doesn't change in 3 to 5 years, you should be blocking your staff. Blocking means validation of competency. So you must hold competency to block it. And that's where a lot of industry don't understand. The other thing is inductions that people think, oh yeah, I've inducted them, I've trained them. No, an induction simply means that if a person holds a certificate, then they go onto that property, you induct them on that actual piece of equipment. So they've already got their certificate, but they must be inducted by you on that piece of equipment.
Okay, so let me play the devil's advocate here then. Being doing a lot of rural fencing, being out on farms, had farm kids growing up on farms, driving tractors all the time, and a small team of 1 to 2 fences maybe. How to go about bringing those sort of people up to speed in a small business enterprise that's trying to make money and everything else, and doesn't want to get bogged down in the paperwork or can't afford to get bogged down in the paperwork. There's such a really fine line, I suppose, that we can see there that is, you talk about the fines and the we don't want to hit with the stick on that end, but on the flip side, what is the big payoff for a small team on the fences that want to go out and try to earn a living?
Yeah, look, I'm not saying it's easy. What we're looking at is we do a lot of pastoral compliance. I just flew back in from WA. We're trained party Wagyu beef. There is a bit up to, I think there's 20 odd participants in that group. Yeah, but I've done 30. So those pastoral companies are aware. Well, the managers are certainly aware because the CEO and the general manager, they weren't prepared to lose their houses. So they called me in. Now, if a small business is prepared to lose his business, lose his house, don't do anything. If they are, what they've got to do is, what I try and do is I try and get a group of people together and say, right, let's all talk about it in Queensland. If we all come to this area here, then we combine together and we can certify those guys. So I try and help. For instance, next week I drive to Rockhampton. I'm training Ergon Energy up there. So I'm doing a level 1 and 2 in chainsaw course. So I've got all here. And then, so what you're doing in the following week, I fly to Townsville to train tractors for Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service. What I do is I go all over Australia trying to help these people, ones that are open to being helped. There's no shortcuts. And as you know, if you do things properly, Simon, is that we've got to have policies and procedures as well. We need to be, even if they don't have to be great. My wife and I write policy and procedures for small business, And we're quite cheap. You know, if they approach us, we have our fees are about a fifth of what other companies do because we're trying to help these small businesses. But you've got to do it. A lot of these, got a call a couple of years ago from a mate who was a contract musterer. Couldn't understand why he couldn't get hired. And then a bloke said to him, well, you got no P&Bs, mate.
Yeah.
And he said, what are they? He said, policies, procedures. He said, oh, he rang me up and we knocked him up a set of policy and procedures. It was simple.
Yeah.
And well, simple for us because we do it all the time, but it's not simple for Joe Blow.
Yeah. And I think with your policies and procedures, we sort of get bogged down on those words. To small business, just having those procedures in place saves you so much time anyway, because they become part of your systems and everything else. So you're following a regime all the way through, so everybody can follow it. So you can get somebody walking up the street and can follow a system that ultimately frees you up as a business owner or leave your hand or whatever to move up into that next level. So you grow through the business. So I think it's an absolute necessity anyway. Having going back to the verifications, and you talked about gaps. Now, I did a lot of my machinery tickets 10, 12 years ago, been around them all the time. And I've got a friend who was in WA who was in the harvesting side of things and lost his leg, estimated by the policy. You got up to shut the back hatch on. Yeah, got the bloke and shut the back hatch, and then the bloke put the boom down and moved the machine, got him pinned under, and ended up losing his leg. You see half the time, most of the accidents that seem to happen are all a little bit of complacency and a bit of incompetence from somebody else generally, and sometimes it's all. I know, you just said that even changing buckets over and, like the losing leg.
Well, I got called in by Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service to train about 60 of their staff. And what happened was the WorkSafe fined them because one of their rangers broke his leg taking a bucket off on a tractor, front end of a tractor, and broke his leg in 5 places. Now, was he competent? Yeah, he probably was competent. But he couldn't prove his competence because he said, well, he's competent. Well, the WorkSafe officer said, well, prove it. And you can't prove it unless you've got a piece of paper saying that you're competent. Because just because you tell me that your staff are competent, but how do I prove that you're competent to say he's competent? The only way I can say you're competent is because I hold a TAE. Does that mean I'm a better operator than you? No. But that's the way it works. You've got to start somewhere. And, I've had this discussion with my cousin who, owns a big business in the bush. He said, I had to bring a bloke out to get this government job and he had to certify me on my chainsaws. And he said, I knew more than he did. Well, I said, yeah, Gary, he doesn't have to be better than you. He's just got to assess you. So the whole thing is, that's what it's about. It's about, I'm there to assess you. That doesn't mean I'm a better fencer than you. I just know how to fence, and that's what I'm doing. I'm assessing you. So, that's what it's about. It's not being better than the person that you're doing it. You're just there simply to assess.
Yes. And I suppose you just sort of pinched on that point a little bit that, if one Queensland government is taking the court and fighting another Queensland government, they're going to come after the small bloke, just as hard as well. No one's safe.
No one's safe. And the big thing, Simon, is that the small guy doesn't have the money behind him to fight it. And so there's going to be small guys like this farmer in Kinkin, he'll go a row. Definitely the company, the sugar company up in Bundaberg will go a row because that worker was killed by a post drive.
Yeah.
So, I don't know because I'm actually going to be brought in as a expert witness on that one. So I can't say too much about it. But what I can say is someone will go a row. And it's not, I'm not we're not trying to frighten people. These are the facts of the matter. The facts of the matter are you've got to get your staff certified. You've got to be compliant. You need to come into the 21st century. And that's what it's about. And we all started off as small businesses. It doesn't cost that much to become compliant. And then you stipulate, like I'm bringing more staff on. So one of the things I bring on with my staff is if I help them with their TAE, I obligate them for working for me for 2 years. If they don't work for me for 2 years, I take it out of their pay. That's that simple. So you say, right, I'll put you through this stuff, but you've got to work for me for 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is. You just put it on paper.
Yeah.
And it's that simple. But yeah, there's plenty of organisations around. The reason I get called in we now do every Queensland state government department for all their work health and safety. The reason we get called in is I do not tick and flick. If you're not compliant, you are not yet competent. So no one fails, you're just not yet competent. And I spend the extra hours with you or your staff member to make sure you're competent, and then I pass you. So others out there, they don't care. I do. I care. So our goal is to bring our staff, our people home safely every afternoon.
Yeah, and well, that's be everybody's goal. You know, we're all here to make money, and and do a good job. But at the end of the day, you've got to do it in a safe and compliant way, so everybody's coming home at night to their loved ones. You know, and that's nobody wants to go out and face an accident. And generally, what we see, and I've seen this happen a few times myself, that hindsight's the side of the thing. You know, it's you're looking back. Nobody wants to go out and have these or come up against an accident or whatever, because it does so much damage to the people naturally involved, but to everybody else that's around as well. It's a big thing.
It is a big thing, and personally myself, I grew up. I rode bulls and broncs, so I can hang up a bit. But I never wore a helmet. Until my wife, who was used to wearing a helmet on horses, and she said, "You're going to wear a helmet." So guess what? I started wearing a helmet. I'm glad I did. 3 years ago, I was mustering one of my properties up in the hills, chasing a mob of bullocks, and the hill caved way, horse rolled on me 3 times. And if I wasn't wearing that helmet, I'd be dead today. I was concussed, but I'd be dead. So for me, I've worked a lot of young horses in my life. I've had many spills, but I tell you, that one would have killed me. And so I wear helmets, and I don't even think about it.
Yeah. Well, it's quite funny that we buck the system now. It doesn't look cool, so we're not going to do this and we're not going to do that. But at the end of the day, safety is the most paramount. And I have a very good friend of mine who's a safety officer that He's up here. I got an infection in my hand not long ago, and it went sort of blew off and turned into an abscess, and I had to go and have it operated on and everything else. And the first thing he was into me was, "Oh, you don't wear your gloves enough." And I was like, "Oh, here we go." But then I throw all the excuses at him. Like, I wear gloves all the time when I'm cutting colourboard and steel and things like that. But when I pull barbed wire, I don't wear gloves. And I just hate it. I get hung up more when I've got gloves on than when I don't have gloves on. And there's scars all over my arms. One where I actually had gloves on, and again, there was a bit of complacency on my part. It was pouring rain, and I wanted to get it done. I stood on the wrong side of the strain, and the strain just let go and slipped in, a bit greasy or whatever. It just wrapped right up around me and ripped me to pieces. But I should have known a lot better. We go into those training things, and the first things that I had pull free gloves. This is why I don't stand on this side, guys. That blood trickles me everywhere. It's interesting. Obviously, the stats. I don't know the stats, but farm deaths are probably the highest in Australia for workplace accidents. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. They are the highest. It used to be tractors were the highest, and then we brought ROPS in. So we had the hue and cry. Everyone was saying, a tractor, you can't operate it with the ROPS. Well, today, we wouldn't even think about that. We've just had the hue and cry about ATVs. We can't use ROPS. I just did a walk-in, walk-out deal, my latest property, and had an ATV there. First thing I did was I put a ROPS on, $700, and it came with a helmet. So the helmet goes in there as well, because by law today, you're riding an ATV, you must wear a helmet. That's the law. And side by sides, they don't, because they've got seat belts. ATVs, 95% of deaths with ATVs, and it's now the highest one, is by asphyxiation, and ROPS will stop that. Other 5% is head injury. Well, even with the ROPS, you'll probably stop that as well. So the deaths with all new ATVs has plummeted to just about nil. The only deaths I know personally, a mate of mine lost his daughter in the last couple of years, 12-year-old daughter, shouldn't have been on him, killed her. WorkSafe didn't go after him because, no matter what fine you give him, it's not going to change. His daughter's dead. It's not going to change. Another young fella who went to St. Brennan's College, he died in the last few years as well. There's those parents then have to live with that, because they're the ones that let them ride that ATV. They were too young and then didn't have ROPS. And that's it. That's the facts. The facts are that's what happens. Now, people accept it. It's motorbikes. I do a lot of training on two-wheel motorbikes on pastoral properties. We all wear, and they accept it. They wear helmets, but then they don't want to wear a helmet on a horse. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's and I mentioned to you earlier in our phone call that I've got a little property here, and my grandson, 6-year-old, for a little four-wheeler, he's on all the time, always with helmet and everything else. Doesn't have a rock on it, and he's come off a few times and come under it. But you sort of look, he's always riding with supervision, but as he gets older and gets damer and gets more artistic and uncensored sideways, and people think boys do, I can see a lot more accidents sort of happening with him, and that's probably one of the big things that has scared me a lot as a young man growing up, and used to do crazy things all the time myself. Then as a father, as I come into fatherhood, I started to used to let my boys do things under supervision. So let boys be boys and let them do dangerous things under supervision so they grow. But now I've got grandkids, and it sort of freaks me right out. So I don't know if I'll get softer or what, but it does. It really scares me seeing some of the things that my children and my grandchildren sort of are allowed to do and get away with, and it's like, you can't do that. You just can't do that anymore.
You become so much more aware. And I grew up wild in the bush as well. But I'm turned 58 the other day, and hopefully I've got a few more years of sense. And for me, it's about imparting that knowledge, that understanding. When people go, when I'm training the kids, I can catch them before they do something, because I've done it. I was as wild as they come. Yeah. So I've been there, done it. So you're already ahead of them. And as the same as yourself, you can see problems that could occur because you've probably had them occur to you. Now, our goal, I suppose, is being able to transition this next generation that, we don't want to wrap them in cotton wool, but we do want them to come home safe. And we can say to them, I've got scars all over me where, I lost a nut off my left hand, driving with a dolly with a steel picket. It was a short dolly, took it. I've had several surgeries on. I can now use that hand. It was my riding hand anyway. But those injuries, I'm going, well, there's no need to have that injury. I can teach you why you shouldn't do that. Those things, I think, because we've gone through it, we need to be trained on, right, this is how we do it safely. That's got to be our goal, I think.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, and going a little bit to life, the fencing industry in Australia is pushing to become a trade in our own aspect, and to become part of that, we all have to lift and rise to the occasion. And we're getting to a stage where, they're safe. There's got to be a lot of fences out there listen to this and go, we're just going to have a load of garbage. But, if we don't educate ourselves and rise up and do it, as you said, it doesn't cost a lot of money to get these certifications and these competencies up and these policies and procedures in place. So my advice, if you're talking to other fencers or the guys that are listening, if you've got crews, get them in and do a 1 day training. Just 1 day, surely you can manage. If you've only got a small crew, 1 day is not going to break the bank,
I fly in, so like Pardue, that was a 2.5 week, started at 4:30 in the morning, finished 9 at night doing paperwork. So, I'm the one who does all the paperwork. And so my trainers, the deal is we get in there, we work hard, we work as a team. So I use those managers. They do a lot of the training, and then I assess. So they make sure their staff. So your goal has got to be, so when you bring someone in, that they're there for the minimum time. So that my goal is that, I want to get people certified. However, if you've got your staff trained properly, then I come in and I assess. It's a lot cheaper. And so that's the way I look at it, because we've helped a lot of people. We do what we call day rate and registration certificate. So we go in and do that. So I say, right, whether there's 2 people, like tomorrow I'm doing a biosecurity course and it's for 3 people. So there's a registration certification of each participant, plus the day rate, plus expenses to get there. Now, those are the sort of things I do because I'm interested in our industry and trying to make our industry as compliant as possible. So there's always ways around it. People just need to reach out. And if I'm in an area that I can't get to, I can refer people. I have no problem helping people. I don't charge to help people. If people want to know, they can, I presume you'll put up my details at the end. If they want to know any information, look, I'm an open book. They can text me or email me and I can go back to them and tell them what they should do.
Excellent. It's really important. And I think one of the big challenges that we have to come about now as we sort of wrap this interview up with you is we have to change our thinking. One of the big things is instead of thinking that you just need a competency to get on to that next job, and so you just got to get that Joe Blow signed off and move him onto that job. If we start to think that we're training these people for the longevity of your business, and they can then pass on to the next people and train people, your business just becomes so much more successful as well. And I think, so it's successful, it's safe. As I said, nobody wants accidents. They happen, unfortunately, they do happen. But if we can sort of mitigate the risk as much as we can and move forward, your business is, doesn't suffer high insurance rates and everything else. So it can be so much costly if you go the other way.
And it's just some really basic stuff like you and I understand what a toolbox meet is. But a lot of people in the pastoral industry don't understand. They get hung up on it. The toolbox meeting is coffee in the morning. We're discussing what we're going to do for the day. Then we simply look at our SOPs, our standard operating or safe operating procedure, how to operate a chainsaw. What are we going to look for, guys? Make sure we're wearing PPE. See how basic it is. Yeah. People get hung up on it. I've worked with a lot of Indigenous pastoral companies, and we really keep it simple for everyone. And so for us, it's about making sure the worker understands and then going, was there any breakages yesterday? Yep, the motorbike's still out in paddock 8. Well, how about we go out and get that motorbike? So, for us, it's about, I saw a crack. And you want your staff to understand that, any breakage they want to know about. Yep, I saw a bit of a crack in the weld on such and such. Yep, not a problem. We'll address that. Here, use this other one for today. I'll go and get that re-welded.
Yeah.
That's how business flow.
Yeah, it's about. You don't want to find or hear about it. And this happened with me, for example, the other day. One of the boys came to me and said, this is broken. I said, when did that break? 3 or 4 days ago. I said, what, you've been using it for 3 or 4 days? Why didn't you come and tell me so we can get it sorted? Yeah, well, what about it? And that's all part of the training and the communication thing. Communication is probably your biggest your biggest thing to move forward with as you're working with blokes? A lot of people are saying to me, a lot of fences are saying to me at the moment, they can't get staff. Employment is really hard to find good workers and everything else. And then you have the flip side that people are just walking off the street to try and get jobs that are unskilled, that have no qualifications and everything else. So my thought process is I would rather spend the time and train somebody up and spend the money to get these guys and girls above standard, so then they have a secure workplace to work in, so they actually have security for themselves and their families, and then go home. And my business thrives because of it. Like this business, you have people say if you pay peanuts to get monkeys, but if you don't train those monkeys, you're always going to have monkeys.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's the whole thing. And, we're seeing it in our training industry now. I work with a lot of high schools because that's what's taken over from the ag colleges. They're doing a Cert 2 at ag ops. So I work with a lot of those teachers, and a lot of them are clean skins. They really want to do it, but they have no industry experience. So that's what we're setting up. We're building that small ag college that those teachers can come to us and we can get that training, making sure that it's industry. That's why I have relationships with people like yourself that are out in industry, that we're doing it properly. Doing things using the latest post driver. I myself personally use Thor. I find them a great post driver, pneumatic. You take the work health and safety away from the dangers, the risks. So I look at all those sort of things and all the other equipment that I'm using. I choose to use steel chainsaw. I use Gallagher fencing. These are because whatever I use, I train with, I promote as well. So for us, we're always trying to get more forward-thinking people and product. And, for us to be able to train, we say to people, look, if you'd like your product, send it to me. I can test it. If I like it, I'll promote it. I'll promote it with all my participants. So that's our goal, is that we use the latest components, equipment, machinery, and hopefully we're doing the right thing by our participants moving forward.
Yeah, I think you also get I use Waratah products predominantly as much as I can here, and often I'll work with custom driver that I put on the excavator as well. I'm actually going to buy a Thor driver as well from the Aussie track, but just so we can sort of move around a bit quicker as well. But I like those products, even if I'm doing residential fencing, I come back into doing colour bond and I use certain brands that I like, Lifestyle and things like that. And they're what I sort of go to because I know the quality, I know what it can do for me. There's some of the machines that I use. I use steel chainsaws as well. To me personally, the 3 or 4 of them, I think they're the best for what I need to do. I'm not saying that they're the best overall, but I know I had a hustle for years and years and years, but I come back to the stills because I just like the style and the cover. I say that, and
they're good. The still I find with them for training because of the clutch assembly. That's why I prefer them. I've had Huskies. They're both of them are good. But for training and simplicity, I just found it still so much easier. And that's why I use it. So I promote it. I'm talking with Waratah now, using their equipment as well. So, because we do a lot of fencing training. So our goal is to work with these different companies and promote their products. If I can see they're good, I'll promote them. And if the industry current, it's great to hear someone like yourself. I watch what you do as well. So whatever products you're using, I look at it, go, great. Yep, I can be teaching with that. And that's what I did with the Thor. We're lucky enough to be able to do a partnership deal with them now. So we use that as well. There's so many good ones. Just a Clever Gate company the other day, they just a great product. So for me, I'm going to trial that gate as well. So for me, anything like that is good, that it is in industry current, I'll be promoting.
Yeah, there's so many. I was sort of scrolling through stats the other day and comparing sort of Australia to the American market, where we sort of sit in that, and just on I think American fences that were registered was like 40,000. In Australia, registered there was between 4,000 and 5,000, and obviously bigger markets, bigger population, and everything else. But some of the blokes I've seen in Australia and some of the work when we were down at the awards this year is just phenomenal. There are some really smart, crafty blokes out there and girls doing some really top end stuff. There's also some cowboys, but we're trying to bring those cowboys up. And everyone says we've got to get rid of the cowboys. No, we don't have to get rid of the cowboys. We just have to train them, and they're gonna ride us with the rest of us, and so we can all get above it, make the industry so much better. And Vince, thanks very much for coming on the show with me and sort of explaining that. As I said, it's very important that we get this, being competent and being smart with how we are doing things a bit. So where can people who are listening to this find you guys?
Look, probably the best one is to look at our website. Is just Vet Centre QLD, so PETCENTREQLD.com. So that'll get our website, and they can clock on from there. That's probably the best way to get a hold of us, I suppose, because it's got our email address and everything else. But also you'll find you'll see our Facebook presence as in Facebook.com/Vet Centre QLD. So you'll see a bit there. You can get a hold of us through that one as well.
They can also get hold of you through the Fence Post group as well. Do you remember there? So,
and main is as the tide rises, we'll both slip. That's what you got to remember.
Yep, that's it. 100%. Thanks very much, mate. And we'll catch you up again and hopefully talk soon.
Thanks for having me on, Simon. Appreciate it.